1. This happened a year and a half ago. I was about 22. I was driving to a friend's house to borrow a game before going to work, and I turned onto his street and passed a side street, where some asshole decides not to stop at the stop sign, and almost T-bones me. I just shook my head and kept driving, when suddenly I hear tires squeal behind me. I remember thinking, great, here we go, and looking in the rear-view mirror to see the jackass driving behind me. So I drive past my friend's house and take a left turn, which leads me to a street that is shaped like an L, and at the next intersection I take a right, then take another right, which puts me back on the street where he almost T-boned me, just going the opposite direction. At this point it's blatantly obvious he's following me, so I pull off to the side of the road, pull out my cell phone to call the police, left the car running obviously, and he blows past me running yet another stop sign. And I think to myself, well, at least that's done with. And I have an interesting story to tell. I head into my friend's house, tell him this story and help him look for the game. And after about 15 minutes we realize we won't be able to find it before I have to go to work. I get out and back into my car and head up the street and drive maybe a minute up the street. And who do I see hanging out of a church's parking lot driveway, waiting for me? Jackass McStop signs don't apply to me. I pass him and take a right onto the street that heads towards my work, thinking that he might get stuck at the light at the intersection. Nope, he's behind me but a bit back. So I take a right onto a side street, take an immediate left on the next street, take another left, so now I'm heading back the way I was going when I passed him in the parking lot, and took off up that street for a good 3 or so miles, and decide that surely I've shaken him off by now. I take a right and start heading towards a main street that leads to my work. And here comes the movie-esque moment. As I take that right, he's turning off the street, going back the direction I came from. All of my windows are down because it's summer and nice out. His are too, and he yells, "You're dead, asshole!" That whole interaction seemed to play out in slow motion. It was so surreal. Well, time to fly. I take off going nowhere in particular and get stuck at a red light, going from the side street to the main street I was going to take to get to work. I look in my rear view mirror and who is behind me? None other than him. So now I'm swearing at this light. Come on, fucker, change, change, change. I need to get out of here. Time has slowed down again. Come on, finally, it changes. I'm fucking out of here and off I go, taking random lefts and rights, and not taking others, and I end up in the middle of who the fuck knows where, and this time I think, surely I've lost him. I'll just park and wait, then call work. 10 minutes later I call work and let them know what happened. Manager, did you call the police? Me, no, I haven't had a chance, and I have no idea where I am. Manager, alright, just come on in and we'll call them, and you can take care of everything. So I arrive at work and call the police, tell them everything. After being instructed they can't talk to me at work because it's outside of their jurisdiction. I would have to cross the street and go to the McDonald's. And the officer acts totally disinterested. I mean, it does sound fantastical, and the best description I could give of the guy is that he looks like the dude from the Ace of Cakes, but he could have pretended at least. And later on my manager asks if I'll stay. I explain that I would if my job wasn't to stand at the self-checkout podium, with my back to the only entrance. To which she replies, "Oh, Mike, if he was going to shoot you, he would have already." I was kind of floored by that. And let's all be thankful that not all bad people have guns. And her manager overhearing said they'll find somewhere else I could work in the building. 2. I'm a 21-year-old Native American female living in Saskatchewan, Canada. This happened when I was about 10 years old. My older sister at the time was 17 or 18 years old. She had a boyfriend who goes by the name John, who everyone loved in my community and other communities, but to me, I just had a strange and bad feeling about the guy since I first laid eyes on him. He was skinny, had thick rimmed glasses, a long dark braid, and scarily sharp cheekbones. He was a year or two older than my sister, and the creep really liked to stare, specifically at me. I never wanted to be alone with the guy, so every time I was left in the living room with him, I quickly made my way to my mom's bedroom and stayed with her in there until someone was out in the living room with him, so I wouldn't have to deal with his creepy stares. We were living with my auntie at the time, and it was a packed house, because she had her family and my mom's family in one small house. It was torture. My mom and siblings, 4 at the time including me, which is 5, all shared one small bedroom. Some of us slept on the couch if it was too packed in there, but we had a bunk bed, so it wasn't that packed. John would come and visit my sister basically every weekend, which I hated. The only good thing about him was how he told stories of little people. Not midgets or anything like that, but actual little people who are as small as a water pitcher, living in the woods. My culture believes in that stuff, so it's another story for another time. And his ghost stories. Other than that, I hated him with a passion. Every weekend he would just stare at me to a point where I would camp at my best friend's house, all weekend until he left. But since it was round dance season, YouTube round dance in Saskatchewan if you're curious, my mother didn't trust me to go camp because she thought I would sneak off to the round dance. So I stayed home and avoided him at all costs. I couldn't avoid him that much, but my auntie and mom noticed he kept staring, but didn't say anything to him. One morning I slept until 12 in the afternoon. I didn't notice John walk out of the bedroom where I slept not 5 seconds later. I still had no clue he was behind me until my auntie looked over to us and said, "What have you guys been doing in the bedroom?" while smiling. I turn around and there is John close behind me, lifting up his shirt a bit to a point where you can see a little bit of his chest. He was smiling while biting his lip, staring at me, then sits down at the table with my auntie and mother. I had just woken up and had major bedhead, and my auntie must have thought we had done something more in the room. I was 10 years old, for God's sake. Why say that to a child? That pissed me off. I walked back into the room and slammed the door shut and locked it with a butter knife on the door so he can't come in. What if he'd done something to me in my sleep because I'm a heavy sleeper? Just picturing his hands on my body while I was sleeping scared the hell out of me. The guy wouldn't give up. Me, my older brother, older sister, and John would sit on the top bunk of the bed and tell ghost stories. John would always sit beside me. I always tried to sit between my brother and sister, but he would somehow scoot his way in between one of them and sit by me. The creep would also slowly slide his hand across either my leg or hand while the story was being told. Not too long after that experience, my sister dumped him, and I haven't seen him since. I was very mature for my age while taking care of my younger siblings and making sure no one hurts them in any way, so I knew what a pedophile was. I knew for sure he was a pedophile. I never let my younger siblings around him. If he tried to be around them, I would take them to my friend's house where it was safe. I'm just glad he's out of our lives. This has been messing with me for the longest time, and I feel relieved to finally get it out of my system. So, John, let's never, ever meet again. 3. A couple years back when I was in college, I was the victim of a long-term stalker. This is a pretty long story and really builds on itself. I have cut it down a bit to be more coherent, but I have not changed any facts. Also, quick note in the texting sections. The things I say are always prefaced with me. The other stuff in quotes is the stalker. I am a male, 20 at the time. It started out fairly innocuous on Valentine's Day. I started to receive secret admirer-type text messages from an unknown number. I assumed it was a friend of mine playing a joke, as I was in a room with a handful of tech-savvy people at the time. I tried to gauge their reactions and asked if anyone was messing with me. They all denied it, and I believed them. They're pretty bad liars. It was further confirmed that it was none of them when I got a phone call from the number. A voice on the other end said, "Is this my name?" I replied, "Yes, who is this?" hoping I could identify the voice. At that point, they hung up and resumed texting. At the time, a lot of my friends lived together, and the people who didn't live there and enjoyed pranks weren't really committed or knowledgeable enough to sign up for a fake number texting service. Things started to get weird when the person began asking pretty personal questions, including repeatedly asking, "Are you doing something tonight?" To which I replied, "Yes, I was working." But they kept insisting we should meet up. On top of all this, I was getting various text messages sent to me from a separate email. Username @textnow.me. This confirmed it wasn't a real number, and now I had a username to connect to the person. I don't know if it was their intention, but I actually enjoy trying to figure out shit like this, and took it upon myself to expose this person without giving away anything about myself. So I kept it up. I texted them back for a while and dug more and more information about the person, compiling it into a profile and eliminating possibilities. Unfortunately, this just encouraged them, as they insisted I send pictures, take pics add to the convo, etc. Then they sent a weird one, a white lacy dress hanging in their closet, with the accompanying text, "My wedding dress for when I marry you." Various heart and love emojis. Pic of your reaction. Me, no. Why not, please? Pics of your surroundings, please. Your room, your face. Anything more. Me, you gotta tell me who you are, otherwise I'm definitely not sending you any pictures. I'm not telling you who I am until I feel comfortable. You gotta be fucking kidding me. You're the one who's uncomfortable? They continued to pry about where I was going to be that evening, and I still refused to give details. Then they dropped where they were going to be, a party on campus that night. I couldn't go regardless, I was working. I should also mention that the texting conversation was all over the place. It was like 3 different people were all trying to talk to me about different things all at once. Again, I was bombarded with personal questions about past relationships and what kind of girl do you find yourself most attracted to? There was a little bit more back and forth, not too interesting. Then I got another bombshell. They asked if I lived in apartment 68, which I did. I lied. Me, close but not quite. Oh, could have sworn. Where do you live? Are you involved with anyone at the moment? I recognized the style of apartment they were based in on a picture from earlier, so I decided I'd throw a curveball. You live in this complex, right? What? How do you know? Me, I recognized your door. All the shitty apartments had the same color door frame, which was visible in the edge of a picture they sent. The conversation kind of fizzled out here. I didn't go to that party, and didn't get any more texts. Among the pictures they sent me were some screenshots of my Facebook, photos of their bed, a pipe, some posters. Pretty boring stuff. So that was February. Fast forward to October the following school year. I was a senior and busy as fuck. One evening I got a text from an unknown number. Is this my full name? So I played dumb, pretended like I wasn't freaking out that after many months this person was contacting me again, and I still hadn't figured out who it was. These questions were instantly more personal, and they really weirded me out. Don't ruin the fun. Not knowing who I am is part of the mystery. I won't tell you who I am, not now. Too much to lose. I don't want you to know. Not because I'm being cruel. It's just better if you didn't know. Me, that doesn't make sense. Trust me, you don't want to know. You'd be better off not knowing. Trust me. Me, okay, whatever. Why are you texting me again? Are you mad at me? I just have no one to talk to. Does my personhood really matter? Can we talk about something else? Me, like what? I'm pretty tired of this shit and trying to work, but I do want to see if I can pick out any more details, so I'm doing the bare minimum to keep this going. Do you celebrate Halloween? I guess I'm boring you. I have a better question. Have you ever been in love? Me, no. How do you know if you've never experienced it? For a response so extreme, you'd think you've experienced it before. But I guess it's a matter of perspective. You must be a godly man, then. These texts are coming so fast I can't keep up. Was that too harsh? Me, What a response. Bye. Explosion and violin emojis. The next day, around the same time, I get another text. Keep in mind, the person is referring to their friend, but I honestly believe this friend is made up. I was talking to my friend about you today. Me? Who's your friend? Don't you want to know what we talked about? Me? Yeah, sure. Then, like 3 hours later, they replied. We talked about how you sounded like the type of person to fall in love easily. You're a sap. Not in a negative way, just an observation. Like you're wishing for the one. Me. All you care about is finding my identity. That would be the most awkward thing ever. Why so eager? Wouldn't you be weirded out? Me, no, probably not. A lie. We've been in class before. Me, what year? Maybe if you got to know me, you'd figure it out. Me. Okay. Tell me about yourself. Hey, why didn't you comment about the observation my friend and I made? Say how you feel. Me, what does that mean? Say how you feel. This makes me uncomfortable. You never ask me any questions. I started messing with them, asking really random questions. This made them really mad. Me, do you like cats? Me, do you like long walks on the beach? I live by the beach. Me, which one? A famous one. A lot of people have sex on the beach under the blanket of night. Me, near a city. How do you like state and town I'm from? Me, how do you know I'm from there? The internet is my best friend. Are you nervous? You're just a boy. You are boyish. Let's admit it's nothing bad. It's cute. How old are you? Me, you haven't figured that out already. When's your birthday? The month and day, please tell me now. I just want to know your sign. Me, Virgo. Oh my god, I like Virgos. You're obedient, submissive like a puppy dog. Isn't that funny? I just laughed. Now I ask you a question. Have you been in a relationship before? Why did your relationship fail? Me, not telling you about this. This is annoying. Then they sent me a ton of different random photos from Google. My friend asked me to ask you something, but I don't think I will. Me, what? Can we change subjects now? How was your day? Mine was bad, but I don't want to relive it again. It's something I did wrong, so I only have myself to blame. She wanted to ask something intimate, but I'm not going to share, since you don't like talking about that. It's extreme, you're probably not going to answer. I feel sick asking it. Don't hate me, I'm just the messenger. I'm embarrassed, you're not going to answer. Me, I could. Okay, so we really want to know if you're a virgin or not. Scratch the virgin part. Ever had intercourse is a better phrase. I knew you wouldn't answer. I didn't answer, and they didn't write anything else. That was all October. This December, the end of the semester. Hey! Me, who's this? It's me. I can tell you who I am. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again, but I can tell you who I am. Me, okay, tell me. When I leave campus, I'm never going to see you again. I'm going to be gone. You're so serious. Hello? I'm leaving like next week, so... You're ruining it though. Now I want to punch you. Sorry, I didn't mean to send that last one. Oops. Then they proceeded to call me multiple times. I denied every call, but they kept coming. I think there were 14 calls that night. Then a text from a new fake number. Oh my god, sent free from textnow.com. Me, please stop texting me. Then there were more calls. I turned my phone off. The following week, I was in the class I TA'd. Students were presenting their final work on the projector, and I queued multiple tabs on the projection computer. 2 different students had to work on Google Drive. When the second student logged into their account, they didn't open a private window, so it logged out the first student. Hope that makes sense. I saw this happen, but the first student wasn't in the room, so when she came back, I asked her to re-log in. We were both standing in the projection booth. She was at one end on the computer, and I was messing with the sound system on the other side, but happened to turn and look at the projector screen when she was logging into Google. This hit me like a ton of bricks. The username she logged in with was the same username as the TextNow account that had been sending me photos. I quickly turned away and pretended to be busy with something until she finished opening her work. I thanked her, and she left the booth without realizing her mistake. I tried to play it cool, but inside I was going crazy for the rest of the class. After almost a year, I knew who it was. She finally slipped up. And honestly, I was much more scared now than I had ever been. This person had a history of being pretty creepy around my friends. And although she never had personally interacted with me outside of class, all my friends had strange experiences. Side note, here are 2 abbreviated ones to fully illustrate this craziness. My friend Michael was working endlessly on this thesis in the building. He was about 50 hours into a no-sleep work binge, and it's like 7 a.m. She walks in and starts working on a computer in the lab. Another guy, Dave, comes in and remarks about Michael. "You're still here, Michael." "I've been working for days, starting to see things out of the corner of my eye. Sometimes I see a tall man in a suit." She immediately turns around and says, "You see him too?" Michael has no idea what to say, and Dave makes a joke about it being the ghost of the building. She doesn't say anything and goes back to work. Another friend, Isaac, also worked late in this building and sometimes would find her waiting outside the front door around 3 a.m. and she would follow him home. Occasionally, she showed up outside his door at night and demanded to be let in. One time, while I was actually at his place, she came to the back door with a peephole and knocked for upwards of 20 minutes. We pretended not to be home and shut all the blinds on the front of the house and went upstairs. There's plenty more to tell about their interactions, including one where she attacked him at a party. But that's delving way into another story. So point being, she kind of had a reputation in our friend group, and we generally tried to keep our distance. I had always assumed I was immune. Sorry to say, there's really no conclusion to the story. Someone advised me to file a complaint with the school and try to get a restraining order or something. I figured if we all talked to someone and explained our experiences, we could at least keep her from showing up at her front door. I made a meeting with a counselor who seemed to really care and offered to look into it. A couple weeks later, emailed me saying, "This student is going to be abroad next semester, so we're not going to do anything." I insisted that at least something temporary be put into place, and although I was graduating at the end of the year, Isaac would be returning for 1 more year. Michael had graduated a year before me. They didn't do anything, but what did I expect? This school is pretty notorious for not giving a shit. I didn't run into her again. She hasn't texted me. and Isaac ended up taking a year off. So, for the time being, that is where the story ends. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 3 True Scary Stories, episode 198. Thank you very much to everyone who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Okay, episode 200 hopefully will be up on Wednesday. If I'm having a little trouble getting it together, I'll push it back to later in the week, and I'll put something else up on the Wednesday. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to get the 3 longest stories I can possibly find, so that should give me about 40 minutes of actual material, and I'll probably take any questions that have been asked recently, and my outro will be the Q&A on that video. So if you have any questions, any weird and wonderful questions, feel free, put them down, I'll do my best to answer them, and that will be episode 200. Okay, with that I think I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.